and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling Art with Chris Things.
Ray! Do the hammerlock! I do the hammerlock! Ray! Do the hammerlock, you turkey necks! Yeah, do the hammerlock!
Alright, ladies and gents, here we are. We're back, episode 6, I believe. Oh my gosh. We're back here, Wrestling Art with Chris Things. I am Chris Things, your host this week and every week, and this is our Match of the Week edition. The weekly episode where I pick my favorite wrestling match that I watched that week, good enough that I made an art of it, and we talk about the match, we talk about the art, and we talk about life, all of the things. But you're tuning in for a good one. This week we'll be discussing an excellent match from late last year between the Bountyhunter Bryan Keith and Speedball Mike Bailey from Freelance Wrestling. Just a bloody great match, but we'll get more into that later on. But what I'm looking to do here, I was having a little think, a lot of the time with these Match of the Week episodes, we just kind of get talking, we get bullshitting, we, sometimes get off topic, but that's okay, nothing wrong with that. But a lot of the time we end up just sort of talking about the match, the wrestling. And this is meant to be wrestling art. So I feel like maybe I need to do a better job of talking about the artist element of this. Not too much, but enough, So I thought maybe I can use this little intro thing to tell y'all a little bit about what I got going on, what I've been doing, art developments and such. Think of it like a Letterman monologue at the start of the show, only less funny and with less Paul Schaefer. But yeah, so just what main thing I've got going on at the moment. You may have seen I have a big my first ever tabling expo event coming up this weekend. It's a touring one called the Oddities and Curiosities Expo. They do a bunch of stuff throughout America. I believe this may be their first Australian tour, so I got in on that. We've got 2 days this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, in beautiful Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, the Brisbane Convention Centre, and I'm going to be having a table. I'm going to be having some shirt skis. I'm going to be having some prints, and I'm going to be sitting there for 2 days straight. This goes from I think 8:30 till 6 p.m. So a full day. So I'm going to be sitting there behind this table. Hopefully people will be coming up to me and I'll get to, talk about my art or whatever. But man, it's a bit of a daunting experience between you and me. But definitely something that I want to do a lot more of in the future. So this is kind of I'm hoping the first of many. I'm sure there'll be a lot of lessons that I learn out of it. Honestly, a big thing going into this has been kind of the preparation element in terms of how much product do you bring. So the main thing I've got is calendars, our Los Luchadores versus Cowboys de la Muerte show commemorative 2024 calendars. I've got some whole swag of new shirt designs, which I think I'll be sharing those with you all in the very near future. And as well as, the prints, my art prints of my Chris Things original art. And so trying to prepare for that, how many do I bring? I don't want to have not enough. And apparently the Sydney leg of this fucker, everyone was saying, they sold way more than they're expecting. So, on one hand, you don't have too much. On the other hand, from a logistical perspective, it can be tricky because I don't know if you know, but the business element of this, you order too much stock, and that can be the make or break of the difference of whether this whole thing breaks even or not. I'm not even talking about how much, whether we're looking to making a profit or whatever. But I don't want to fucking lose money on this as much as I can help it. So, if you have way too much stock that you can't even sell enough, to make that back. So that's a tricky thing too. So we'll see how we go from that perspective. Cross my fingers. But the other fun thing is, preparing the table thing. I want to have some sort of nice display sign deal to tell people, this is Chris Things Art. And I was like, what do I do? Do I get like a sign printed up, or my logo or whatever? That'd be the standard kind of thing. And then I was thinking, like, I think a big part of my art is kind of the hand generated element of it, or at least that's the part that I'm probably the most proud of in this fucking disgusting world of like AI art. I'm sorry if there's any AI artists out there. I can't imagine that if you are, you're listening to this show. But alas, the hand generated element of it. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I actually like hand paint this sign on like my table runner? So I was like, yeah, I could do that. That'd be cool. So I do that this week. I get the table runner. I get some fabric paint and I paint it all up. I mix it in an old ice cream container. In case you don't know me too well, I fucking hate wastage. I'm just like one of these fucking recycling nuts. So anything that I can use over again, I will. Get this old ice cream container out, give it a bit of a wash ski, and then I'm painting with it. And I'm painting this runner, Chris Things Art. And I'm realizing while I'm painting, like, am I nuts? Or does this like painted display smell like a milkshake? Does this smell like ice cream right now? And now, dude, I still don't know. I'm a little bit concerned, Did I actually mix... Did I not wash this fucker enough? Did I actually mix residue of ice cream into my paint? Am I gonna be at the expo and my whole stand is gonna smell like off milk? Are people gonna be complaining? Well, fuck, man. So, I mean, obviously this wasn't enough of a concern for you to start over. I just kind of chopped it up to maybe it's just weird smelling paint. So, we'll see. I'll get back to you on that one. Fuck. Quite a little bit potentially concerned about that one. But alas, I thought that'd be a funny little tidbit for you. But anyway, that's the main thing that I got going on at the moment. I've got some other exciting rad commission work of some stuff that I'm really excited to share with you when it launches. Some interesting projects in the work. But yeah, man, it's a bit of a hustle. It's a scary time. As you may know, I'm attempting to do this for full time now, growing this whole deal, which this podcast is a bit of a part of. So yeah, it's moving in a good direction. I feel good about it. We'll see how we go. Yeah, there you go. That's your little snapshot into my life, into the life of a wrestling artist. Since we are the premier podcast in the genre of wrestling art, I just want to put it out there. As far as you know, I don't want to jerk myself off too much. It's I believe we're the only one, but I'm still gonna say premier one in the fucking industry. Okay, but all right, that's enough of that. But yeah, we'll see how we go. If people like this, I'll do this as a bit more of a regular thing. A little opening monologue ski. All right, but now I'm gonna throw over to Chris in the studio, who I believe has a gentleman on the line that I'm very excited to hear an interview with. All right, let's throw over. All right, so I I am super stoked to introduce this gentleman, a man again, for any previous y'all that might have been familiar with the Grown Men Watch This Shit podcast. You may remember this man as our roving Mexican reporter who's not actually Mexican, a man who now makes his home in the beautiful town of Chicago. Which I'm very, very jealous about, just as between you and me. But a dude that I just have all the love in the world for. Stoked to have you back. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jon Craft.
Chris, thanks for having me back. It's so glad to see you on your new venture.
Yes.
I am very proud of you for going all in on your art
Aw.
and therefore a podcast. So happy to be here for it.
Thanks so much, man. Yeah, it was kind of a thing where I was, you may know I'm doing the art thing full time now, or trying to. And I used to have a lot of fun doing our, Grown Men Watch This Shit podcast. So I was like, you know what? I'm like watching a bunch of wrestling for this art stuff, and it's like, why don't I do something where we can talk about it? And especially if it means I get to like catch up with like buddies like you, this is all just a treat all around.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Like Chicago's been great.
Mm-hmm.
I know you and I traveled to a lot of different cities, right? And the one place that I traveled a lot without you was Chicago for All In and All Out, and I believe I did some reporting after those events. And
you did.
It's not the same without you here, but if I can have my boots on the ground for you and be able to contribute, I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's so funny because Chicago is honestly my favorite city in America.
Great wrestling city.
And one of my favorite places to go to. So it's kind of funny we never ended up like actually getting to hang out there in person. But hey, hopefully in the future sometime soon.
Well, there's plenty of shows to go to. It's a huge wrestling market. Like you always hear about it, and then you live here, and there are 2 shows you want to go to a month, and about 7 or 8 that you just don't have the money or the time or the care to. But it's literally that saturated of a market. I've done very little ring announcing since I've been here. So many people.
Yeah, man. Like I think the last show that I went to in Chicago. This may not actually be the last one, but the last one that's sticking in my mind. I always wanted to go to an AAW show. They always had like a great rep back in the day, almost like the Chicago version of PWG kind of thing.
Before Triple H robbed the Indies, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, AEW had a bit of effect on that as well. But I mean, I got to see a show. I think it had like ACH and Ray Phoenix in the main event, which I was so stoked about. I remember Teddy Hart was also on the show, who at that time was just like just one of the most interesting people in the world. Fuck yeah. And yeah, definitely got the proper Ted Hart experience. Like, oh, God bless you, man. Thanks for supporting. God bless. Get the great Teddy Hart in-ring promo after the match. Just beautiful times. But yeah, then that was at that really cool venue that AAW used to have, the Bourbon Street one. I think is that closed down now?
So I think Bourbon Street is still around. I might be wrong, but I don't think they're hosting wrestling. Things have kind of tightened up in Chicago lately. Yeah. AAW is now running back at the Berwyn Eagles, which is think like PWG Reseda, like a union hall.
Yeah, because that's where the Shimmer shows used to be, right?
Yeah. Currently, Berwyn has gotten back into wrestling. They're hosting AAW. I don't want to shoot on anybody, but there was a little problem with the venue, Logan Square Auditorium, over the summer. And it has resolved itself. There's no need to air it, but it displaced some companies for a little bit of time. And I think AAW.
I remember hearing ramblings of this.
Yeah. I mean, long story short, so Logan Square is owned by a guy. For anybody that doesn't know, Logan Square is one of the most historic indie wrestling venues of the last 20 years, right?
Fucking beautiful. And I'm planning on talking a bit more about how beautiful this venue is relating to the match of the week that we're discussing today. Yeah.
Gorgeous venue. Yeah. Well, they got rented out for a Star Wars burlesque parody show that travels cities and stays for 4 to 6 months or something like that. Well, the owner, his name's Saul, great guy. I'm not going to dig on him, so I'll drop his name. Saul had an offer to get paid. and let everybody know. And Saul recommended his second venue, and then there became a problem that there may have not been permits
Right.
necessary at the time. And basically, Freelance run a show on Friday, and at Friday, at the end of the match, fire marshals came in and said no more. AAW would run a show the next day, which had to get displaced.
Right.
So Berwyn stepped in. I mean, I don't think there's any bad blood. Freelance has returned to Logan Square.
Nice.
And I think that AAW is being good to Berwyn for now.
Mm-hmm.
But Berwyn was as big a part of history as anything else. So, like I said, no drama.
The Berwyn Eagles Club, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no bad blood. I think everybody knows that there's only one or two venues that'll run wrestling in a city and take good care of them. And it's a misunderstanding. But yeah, so Freelance has returned to the Logan Square Auditorium as of the last show that we were at.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, and the next show will be this Saturday.
Rad. Nice, man.
Live on IWTV.
Oh, all of the plug skis for that. I definitely made sure to give them a bit of a shout out with the match of the week I posted earlier in the week. Really good service, man. I signed up for it specifically to watch this match, our Bryan Keith versus Speedball Bailey potential indie match of the year candidate, I'd say.
It was the indie match of my live year.
Man,
yeah,
incredible. But yeah, like I signed up for IWTV for that, and dude, I forgot like how much rad shit is on that service. Like I was just going through the back catalog, like seeing all like the Zona 23, like and for me, like such a treat seeing all that like old school grungy like CZW and IWA Mid South. Like as a big time indie wrestling fan of that early 2000s like era, I was so excited to see all that. I've still got that going, take advantage of that, watch some old fucking Zandig.
they have good content too. Like during COVID, Spider Nate Webb did like a cooking show on there, I think it was, and Matt Justice. The week that COVID shut everything down, he was expected to be in Zona 23, and it was him trying to get to Mexico and then getting to the show, not knowing that the show would go on. He filmed a little 30-minute documentary, and I believe Effie just released a like This Is Effie or Life of Effie or something like that as well.
All
So they have
right.
really good content outside the ring as well. I do recommend it. The only problem is the consumer experience of the streaming is kind of dog shit.
I mean, it's better than a lot of other services that I've used. To be frank, it worked. It works fine as like an in browser experience. I haven't really used the app much, but yeah, it worked fine for me, so I can't complain about that. But would recommend the service. But yeah, man, this before we get into the match, how's life been for you, dude? What's going on? Like we haven't spoken to you like properly in a bit of a while.
Yeah, I believe I was laying on a hammock last time we were talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, life's been good, man. I exited what we call a transitional chapter of my life and decided to kind of start anew in Chicago, I guess about a year ago now, a little bit over.
Yeah.
And Chicago's great. Like, I agree with you. It is one of the finest cities. I had visited a lot. My older sister's here. What I didn't realize is how much cooler it is to live here. You have a big city feel, but with these Midwestern neighbors where everybody knows everybody. It's one of those towns, if you can't dig your car out of the snow during the winter, they'll dig you out. They might curse at you while they do it, but they're still going to stop and do it. Everybody, you know your bartender, you know your grocery store. Like, you don't have to leave. It's composed of a lot of different neighborhoods that are all independent. You really don't have to leave your neighborhood if you don't want to. It's been a wonderful city living here. There's obviously tons of wrestling, tons of good people, the transportation. And this past summer, my first summer in Chicago, is probably the greatest summer I've ever had. Like, this place comes alive when it falls out.
Yeah.
And there are dozens of free activities every day.
Oh man.
So I love it. I'm doing really well, man. I got a good job right now. I'm happy with where I'm at. I thought I'd be here for maybe 6 months and then go back to Denver, but well, I guess that was 6 months ago and I'm still here. I really like it.
Oh, dude, I'm so stoked to hear that. Like, honestly, your happiness just makes me so fucking happy to hear, dude.
Doing well. I appreciate you.
Oh, always, man, always. Well, that's fucking delightful, dude. Really, really happy. You know how much I love Chicago as well, and everything you said, I agree with. Like, especially like that as an Australian, like coming to Chicago and like seeing different cities in America. There's generally like you go to different places, especially we've talked about like Memphis, or like Atlanta, where there is like that kind of like Southern hospitality kind of deal, or different areas in Texas too. But I mean, man, there's nothing quite like that Midwest hospitality and just that Midwest niceness.
In a
Like,
big city, yeah.
yeah, yeah, so
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. And also, I got to say, for anybody that did listen, um, Denver was the first place that I'd ever really had an entire community of friends in one place. I'd had friends here or there. We all have had that. But the Denver wrestling community accepted me in, brought me in, gave me a gig as a ring announcer. Um, Nothing's going to replace that. Actually, that's the only thing I miss about Denver. It's gotten very, very big. It's gotten overcrowded. Having said that, when I came out here, I started working at Pro Wrestling Tees. And as we're going to kind of transition into this freelance conversation, I met a guy named Matt Nix. Matt runs Freelance. Chris, you know him as well.
I do. A man we formerly had on the Grown Men Watch This Shit podcast as well. Delightful gentleman.
Yeah, wonderful guy, and he's kind of like me, like a little bit older than a lot of people that work there, so kind of over the bullshit or whatever. But he basically said, yeah, man, if you want to show up early and stay late at Freelance, I'll let you in. You can get your spot, you can network with everybody. And really thankful for that guy and a number of other people, but I can't even list. um will it replace Denver? No, because we all came up together, right? But Chicago has welcomed me in with that Midwestern hospitality. And I was hanging outside the back door with Bryan Keith the other day, right? And Effie comes through here all the time. People I've known for a while, and I think that really helped like leverage new friendships. So wrestling really is a brotherhood or sisterhood, and I'm infinitely thankful for it. I don't know that I'd be where I'd have in Chicago without wrestling.
That's so rad. I mean, that's so like captures the magical vibe of independent wrestling too. That thing where it's
Yeah.
like you make these connections, and these are like lifelong connections and friends, and you may not see them in sometimes years apart, but when you do, it feels like you're seeing a brother again, and like no time has passed.
Yeah, and on the flip side too, like as the inverse to that, you get older, you're in our 30s now, right? And
Mhm.
you don't see your best friends every day. Like you and me, Chris, we don't
Yeah.
talk every day. I know you love me, I love you too, and you know that if I need
Absolutely.
you to call, you'll answer and vice
Yep.
versa. The
Mhm.
cool thing about wrestling is when you are in the business or adjacent to the business, you can show up once a month and all your friends are there, and you don't feel like you have to go out of your way to get coffee when you don't have time or maintain these friendships. At the very least, you're going to see all your buddies together every month.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing about like working in this business or even being a part of the crowd, right? Like they have the same dynamic. And it's really nice to see as we age that we don't grow apart.
Yeah, for sure, man. I treasure this friendship and relationship that we've had on, man, going on what, like 5 6 years now.
Yeah, I'm lucky if I see you once a year.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been over your way for a bit of a while now, but yeah, like I said, hopefully I can make it soon. This living the life of a struggling artist definitely makes those trips that I used to make all the time to America a little bit more I guess daunting, and you want to sort of make sure you're doing it in a way that can be, you can justify it in the books kind of sense.
Right. Well, and that's why I was so happy when my comedian buddy from Lucha Libre and Laughs, Sam Talent, came to Brisbane,
Oh man,
and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh my God, we got to get you guys connected." Right? Like for
absolutely.
anybody that knew me at Lucha Libre and Laughs, he was our comedian commentary, and he's a stud now. Like he's got a book, he's got a podcast, he's got an Amazon Prime special, Sam Talent with two L's. And everybody, I heard he was coming to Brisbane, and Sam was like, "Yeah, I got your buddy Chris, no problem."
Dude, shout out to Sam Talent. That was a fucking tremendous set. I hadn't seen live comedy in a hot minute. But dude, so funny. I went with my partner Kaylin, and she loved it as well. Dude just was great, and just like a really nice personal guy. And I had a little chat with him
Yeah.
afterwards. Put you over for hooking us up. And yeah, just such a lovely dude. So yeah, thanks for that one so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope he was wearing short shorts for you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think that's part of the Sam Talent experience. So, all right, let's jump on in. We got a match to talk about. We got an art to talk about. This being our match of the week episode, where we talk about the match that I watched. That I was like, man, that was fucking rad. That is my favorite thing that week. Got to make an art of it. That came about because of your recommendation, my friend. I heard about this match like a little while back. I remember it got like some really great buzz, especially when it was sort of like around that time when Bryan Keith was just kind of like really popping off. And obviously Bailey on just a fucking spectacular run, like going into that and coming out of that. That dude needs all of the fucking love in the world for the like tremendous output of just insanely great matches that he does. He needs his fucking flowers, dude.
Yes, Speedball really seized the day, like when he got back into the States. I mean, everybody that watched deep cuts of wrestling knew how good he was, right? But to everybody else, he was just lore. He was a myth. And he came back to the United States, and somebody was joking behind me at this match. They said, anybody that's seen Speedball wrestle this year live probably saw the best match they've ever seen live.
Yeah. That's not even an exaggeration either. Like, you could say that about so many matches. Like, that fucking match, actually last one I remember of the really stands out to me. Yeah, that one that we watched with Speedball and Bandito, the High Spot Super Show, right?
Well, there was that, but it started off the year at PWG, Bandito and Speedball in January.
Right.
And it just went on a tear, and it closed with Bryan Keith and Speedball. And I just cannot think of a better year.
Yeah, man, so good. And I, as much as I, obviously need to put over Speedball, and I've been a big fan of his for quite a while. Like, going back to his OG run in PWG, including like a fucking spectacular match with like Chris Hero that's just on my like all-time PWG favorite matches list. And then it was so fucking wild that this dude basically got kicked out of the country. He got like blocked from ever getting to wrestle in America for, what was it, fucking 5 years?
7 years? Yeah, 5-7 years, something like that.
Yeah, ended up doing some rad stuff in Japan with DDT, just hustling.
WXW.
Germany, doing lots of indie stuff in Canada, of course. But yeah, like getting, as soon as he came back and got back into the country, it's just like banger after banger. Like, you never see someone like more determined to just like, all right, I'm gonna hit this out of the park every fucking time.
Yeah. But it felt like he was really trying to entertain, not just raise his booking rate, right? But like, it felt like he knew what people were saying about him, and that people were buzzing, waiting to see him. And it really genuinely, like, the way he carried himself, the way he acted, the way he talked to people, the way he stayed late, it really just seemed like, I've missed you guys. For those that have never seen me, like, come watch.
Yeah, it comes across to me like just such a pure love for the art form of professional wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, he clearly loves this so much. And that's why it's like so amazing to see, 'cause it's just seeing that passion. And you just see how like happy it seems to make him in like such an authentic way. And then that, that conveys, like just watching him, honestly, I said this to him after he was like real nice and, shared the match and of the illustration and put it over. And I said, man, like watching you wrestle, it just makes me really happy. Like no matter what, like I'm going through or whatever at the time, whether you're, not feeling great, like I can put on any Mike Bailey match and you're just like, my mood is elevated just from having watched it. You know what I mean?
He's got that smile. He wants to be there, and I gotta say, like right before the match, or before the show, I was talking with him and I said, "Hey man, I moved here from Denver, la la la, blah blah blah." And I said, I have been excited to watch you for a number of reasons as a fan of the business, but also I'm a dear, dear friend of Banditos. And you brought out the best in one of my best friends. And so from a professional aspect, like you guys elevated each other to a new level. Like you came into the States ready to kick ass and it looked great. And just thank you for letting me see a guy that I've known since he was a kid, basically, like bring out his very, very best. And so we started talking and he said, and this is before Brian Keith replaced, what was it, Leo Rush at Ebola, or I think it was Leo Rush that he replaced.
That makes sense.
But Speedball taps me and he goes, "You're a PWG guy. We got to get Brian Keith into PWG."
Fuck yeah.
And so now that's our running gimmick. Whenever I see Brian introduces me to people as the guy that got him into PWG. And it's a joke, right? But that's that's the selfless behavior that is Speedball. Like he sat there and talked to me for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Just telling me stories about Bandito, just things I didn't know.
That's so right.
I mean, he's a student of the game and he's a master of his craft.
Oh man, absolutely. And like that selflessness that you're talking about came through in this match like tenfold, hey? Because like in wrestling, you get used to like seeing selflessness is not the most common thing. If anything, it's like a business that rewards people for throwing others under the bus. Like it is a business where you have to look out for yourself. Oftentimes, you have to look out for like what is going to be good for you because no one else is looking out for you as much as you are. But like on the flip side, there's some instances that are the opposite of that. Some dudes that are just really giving, who are like, you know what? If I elevate other people, it lifts the fucking tide and helps us all. And I think that's fucking beautiful. And I couldn't say any, that is the definition of Speedball Mike Bailey. And then this match with Bryan Keith, like, I mean, it's not like Keith needs any favors to lift his game because he's fucking rad. But like Speedball did everything he could to show everyone how fucking rad Bryan Keith was in this match. I thought
it's like he knew that there would be eyes on the match and give Keith his flowers, basically.
Yeah, so great. And I think that momentum has so carried on after this, hasn't it? Like, I know that Keith and Bailey have continued that series after this one, through the Texas promotion that Keith works for quite often. I saw they had one on the latest of
Booker T's. Yeah.
Oh no, the new Texas Pro, I think.
Oh, I know I saw one in Texas, and then there's also Wrestling Revolver. I think they wrestled him.
They've got some rad stuff.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, they were on that show with Ronda.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
big LA debut for Revolver. So yeah, I definitely have a whole bunch on my watch list now after how fucking good this one was.
I didn't know this is the first. I assumed maybe they'd wrestled before.
I mean, there's a chance. You'd think that I'd be prepared enough to know these things, but hang on.
We'll cut this part out. We'll cut that part out.
I want everyone to see the whole thing of this deal.
We are real people, everybody.
Yeah, we're authentic here. We're authentic. No, all right. I was fucking right. Yes, put myself over here. That was the first match of a tremendous series that is run through PWG. Was their first match after this one back in January. Then they worked for New Texas Pro was the one I was mentioning, based in Abilene. Then West Coast Pro. Oh damn, I need to watch that. Followed by Deadlock Pro, DPW. And most recently, Wrestling Revolver, as we were mentioning. So, yeah, good. Need to go with my instincts more.
Well, you really chose the right match to make art out of. Like, it was the thing at the end of the
Oh,
match, like, hate to cut to the chase when all the wrestlers came out at the end of the match and beat on the ring, like, that was not planned.
oh
We
man.
were all sitting there, fans, wrestlers, friends, everybody, just amazed. Like, we knew what we were getting into, but we did not know what we were getting into. And just watching it unfold, you could look around the match. We are all so happy.
Man, it was such a cool moment.
Yeah.
Everyone knew going into it as well. I mean, I don't know, you could probably tell me a bit about this like from the live experience, but it felt like even as the match was being introduced, there was like a fucking buzz in the air
Oh,
where
yeah.
people were like, we are getting to see like a fucking indie dream match. And that's what I said like with my sort of like accompanying description of the artwork. I'm like, this had the vibe of like, I used to, you know, man, one of my favorite things ever in wrestling was watching ROH back in the day in like the early 2000s when it was known as just like the indie dream match company. And that's what they were there for. And then obviously that's sort of become PWG as well these days. But this was a fucking indie dream match. And everyone that was there were like, they were vibing it. And it felt like they were all appreciative of like knowing what they were about to experience.
I'll tell you what, the first row definitely knew what we were getting into. The first row is usually the diehard fans that buy out Freelance. And we all knew, like, I wouldn't have missed this match for the world.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing about Freelance, much like the company in Denver that I referenced, is it brings out a lot of people that don't watch wrestling outside of going to it live. And they know, while they may not know who the main event name is, they know that they trust the booker to show them a great time. And so what I remember seeing the people in the second and third row being like, whoa, is this going to be something big? Do we need to like not go to the bathroom? And by the end of it, like, they were the ones throwing dollars. Like, it was phenomenal. The buzz in the air, the energy was unreal.
So great. And I want to put over like the Freelance fans as well, because like sometimes, you know, you go to a wrestling show or you like see a wrestling show and you see the fans and it's like, you know, I don't want to say, you know, the sort of visual of the basement dwellers kind of
They're there.
neckbeard hole kind of deal, but sometimes you see that. But in you know wrestling, but Freelance, I was looking at the crowd and just it looked like a bunch of cool, interesting people that I would love to have a conversation.
Look at the people that are standing up that didn't get there early. Like, look at their faces when you watch this match.
Yeah.
These are people that don't watch wrestling, but they know that it's the hottest thing going on in Chicago that night.
Yeah, for sure. And you get that from like the authentic kind of reactions that are on their face too. So one of the main bits of this match that I think stood out to a lot of people was there was a bit where I think it was Speedball did his sort of like shooting feet first, going out the ring to kick Bryan Keith, and the fucking bottom rope just breaks and makes this massive fucking like clang sound. Everyone's like, holy fuck. And yeah, you just look at on the reaction of some of those like people's faces like in the front row, and I remember there was this like woman in the crowd and she was just like had this look of just like awe of like, was that supposed to happen? Kind of thing. It just made me pop so much. Like clearly someone
is this part the real part?
Yeah. The definition of someone like you're saying that's like doesn't necessarily watch wrestling all the time, but they'll like go to this kind of show, you know what I mean?
And it happened right in front of me. And like I was watching the move and then it happened, and I think even on video I lost my shit.
Oh man.
Just because it doesn't happen and it legitimizes the art form, right?
For sure. And like those they're the moments you can't predict, you know? They add like a bit of a spontaneity to what you're seeing, and then also the way that the dudes reacted to it, you know? Like straight up, I think Bailey like got the bottom rope and started like choking Keith with it. Like that's a fucking worker right there. Use what you got available to you. I love it. There was another bit, it was so cool with you being, so you were sitting right there in the front row, right next to the entryway. Mm-hmm. No missing you. You were on screen most of the way. And I was watching this and I was just like, oh, that's my buddy Jon.
I was not shy.
And watching you pop like for the match, oh man, it brought a whole nother level of joy to my experience watching it.
You know, I threw the first $2 in the ring, and next thing we know, they made $75. that were thrown in the ring. And
I love that.
They tried to give me $5 of it, and I was like, no, I can't. Like, that's not the way I did it. Like, I just got everybody started. But yeah, like, I mean, genuinely, it truly won everybody over. I mean, the wrestlers, Kirby, the announcer, Matt Nix, everybody literally just came down from the balcony, which is kind of the locker room, to just celebrate a match. I think they did tell them, like, guys, let's go hard tonight, right? But nobody could have expected that.
Dude, so great. Can I just say that Kirby ring announcer dude, this was my first time I've seen him in a while. He's fucking ridiculous, like really, really like long. Like, how would you describe it? His sort of really unique ring announcing abilities.
He's like a suburban Michael Buffer with his, this is the main, and he goes on for another 20 seconds. Event. Even at GCW,
and everyone pops just for how long he's able to hold that.
Yeah, absolutely. But even at GCW a couple shows ago, they brought in Kirby to announce some match. It was with Robert Anthony, right? Or something like that. Robert Anthony came out and like talked shit to him, and he ended up getting jumped in the ring. But like Kirby's the man. He's been doing it for a while, and you know, good on him. Like he's earned his spot and he deserves it. As much as I want to take his job.
I was gonna say a little ring announcer to ring announcer.
I know my role and I shut my mouth.
There. But yeah. As soon as he takes a week off, you'll be hustling there to steal his job. For
I've tried.
Oh man, the other bit you mentioned, like you joked after I posted the illustration where obviously there's a moment in the match that I thought, man, this is a fucking visual that none other can top. You were like, oh, you didn't use one with me in there. And I was like, there was one near, like a little early in the match where they're on the outside and Speedball hit this badass fucking kick, like a flying fucking Karate Kid kick on
right
Bryan Keith that happened like right in front of you.
Yeah. You know,
like it was legit about a foot away from you, dude.
That whole thing was a blur. And then I remember Speedball. There's a later segment, and if you remember my Instagram, Jon Craft, Jon Craft Wrestling on Insta, but one of my reels is when they were fighting on the apron, right? And then Speedball drops him down and does the backflip knees onto the sternum. And right after that,
so sick.
He got like Speedball got whacked in the head, ends up like right next to me, and he looked dazed. I guess he worked me, but I looked at him and just quietly, like, I covered my mouth and I was like, "Are you okay, bro?" And he looks at me and just starts smiling and he just bows at me like, "I'm good." But I was watching this match to prepare for tonight, and it's funny that I had a better camera angle than the camera shot of that spot where they did the apron move. And I play it all the time for my friends. Like, that is the spirit of indie wrestling, is like sitting there, being it right in your face, right? And nobody said it.
I remember seeing that when you posted it originally.
Yeah, and nobody said it didn't hurt. You know, that's the thing that people don't get unless you've gone and seen it, is like, call it whatever you want. Call it planned safety, stunt work, a dance, whatever you want to call it. It hurts. It really hurts. Like, wait till you get right up front and try to tell me it doesn't hurt, right? And to see these people like sacrifice for the entertainment, like, it's bar none some of the best entertainment in the world.
Dude, that's where it's at. And like, that's obviously my favorite kind of wrestling. Like, a lot of the time I come on here and I'm like, I just want to see people fuck each other up. And obviously, you know, there's a bit more to the art form than just that. But there's something so fucking satisfying when you see a big fucking strike or a big heavy chop or just some wild shit, like every time Bailey hits those double knees, where you're just like watching, you're just like, I know that would not have been comfortable to take. It just makes it so much better.
I could never imagine a world where it would feel good to have Bailey dump his knees on my chest. Like, I don't. What's he gonna do? Tell you it's gonna happen before he does it? Like, does that make a difference?
I mean, from my in-ring experience a million years ago back in the day, it's basically the same thing as when you're taking like a big back senton. All you can do is you just kind
Flex
of
up.
brace,
Yeah.
like almost like you're about to be in a car accident. You just like tense up your fists and like brace and like flex your pecs and just be like, all right, I'm ready. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But it was so fucking great. I loved both in this match, like obviously there was a bunch of like tremendous like athletic shit. Loved the strikes, loved like just the high spots and the near falls, like all that spectacular shit. But I wanted to like draw attention to one of my favorite things of the match is like the low key kind of like selling, like the character kind of stuff, and that's where I really want to fucking put over, the bounty hunter in this one, because that dude. I mean, if you're not very familiar with Bryan Keith, he is so tremendous in as soon as he comes through that curtain, through the entire match, just has the aura of a fucking badass that is going
Intensity.
to kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just an intensity that just like comes off of
And
his
he
body.
will kick your face off.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he's like glares, where it's just like he'll look at someone and that stare and daggers kind of thing. That is the fucking definition, and just even right down to his body language as well. One of the things that I said in my match description was, and this is intended as like the biggest possible compliment in the world, because I am the biggest fan of this guy, but like Bryan Keith reminded me a lot of Loki in that sense, of a dude that just like is just larger than life and personifies being a fucking killer. And I can't say enough good things about Bryan Keith.
Well, I think we very clearly know one of Bryan Keith's inspirations is The Undertaker, which is a great character in the entrance, but also a hard hitter, a big boot. Bryan Keith does a lot of big boot. I'm sure he's got the mannerisms with the eyes and the hat and things like that, but we don't need to go on all that far into gimmick infringement. Like he genuinely wants to kick the fuck out of you.
Yeah, and like obviously, there is that kind of connection with like the Undertaker kind of thing, but I think Bryan Keith has carried it into being something that's his own. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just doing some like Undertaker cosplay kind of gimmick. He's made this his fucking own. He's developed this like character, and like sometimes I feel like that's kind of a dirty word of saying in wrestling. Like so many people talk about characters and playing a character and all that kind of shit, which I kind of honestly hate. When people kind of get that far away of it, like being theater kind of thing. Like it's wrestling, man, and if you're a character, you are that character, and that's exactly what I get the feeling of with Bryan Keith. Like he's made that so fucking his own. No one could do that, and he's merged it with a bunch of other really cool influences. Like obviously, I don't know this for a fact, but I think it's a pretty safe assumption that this dude's a big fan of Japanese wrestling.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These amazing forearm strikes that would make fucking Masato Tanaka or Misawa proud. These rad fucking enzugiris that would like throw back to like the prime of Shinya Hashimoto. And just a bunch of sweet kicks. The kicks I think is my favorite thing. Oh man, there's some heavy ass kicks reminding me a lot of like Samoa Joe back in the day, in those like glory days of ROH when he used to just do these heavy tree trunk kicks. Dude, I love everything about this, man.
So I want to ask you about your art before I let you go. Like you obviously chose a great shot. That was a great moment in the match. But what was your thought as you were illustrating this out?
Yeah, so there was a back chop, right?
Yeah. The back chop to the back of the back of the neck before Bryan turned around.
Yeah, almost like they teased it like it was an accident.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what it looked like. And it turned into a sign of respect, like a game of mercy, right? So what were you thinking as you illustrated that? Like what made you choose that spot and how did you live it up?
Yeah, man. So it was sometimes a tricky one with these things. Like in the episodes we've done so far, I always kind of like talk about, you sort of wait for that moment. I'll kind of like when I watch the match, I'll like take some different, screenshots or like most of the time it's just janky pictures of my fucking phone that I've taken of the TV screen. But yeah, you take a few throughout and you have like, all right, this could be a contender, this could be a contender. But then sometimes you just have like a moment that's like such a great fucking moment. And you know, I'm a big visual guy, obviously, like being an art dude. So those visuals kind of just like really stand out to me when they're great. And I spoke a little bit to Sam Evans about this when I had him on the podcast, as another great wrestling artist. Like sometimes you're watching and you just know. And that's what he said, and that's the best way I can sum this up. You're just watching, and they had this great bit where, yeah, Bailey, they're doing like a chop off. Keith turns, and then Bailey hits a chop on the back of the neck, and then everyone freezes. You know, it's almost like they tease it like Bailey's like, oh fuck, what have I done?
Waiting for his response, yeah.
And then Keith just again getting back to that fucking, you know, personifying this badass character. He soaked it up so fucking well. Like he took a knee, he so slowly like get off, slowly like turn around, just like glares at him with those daggers that I was talking about before, man. And it was like just a moment, and the crowd, it was like you could see the crowd was like that, almost like, oh, he's gonna fucking kill you now, dude.
The back row was waiting
just
for
everything
a fight.
about it.
The back row was waiting for a fight. Yeah.
Man, and that was it. So the combination of like, I try to look out for, obviously you sort of want to capture cool moments in matches from like an athletic perspective, but to me it's sort of the capturing stuff like looks on dudes' faces, capturing those kind of like facial expressions, and the moments of drama as well as you can.
That's the business.
And sometimes it can be a little bit tricky when you're watching it, you know, on you know, like a internet wrestling stream, because like these dudes who are recording it, who I'll shout out, they did a great job, like the camera dudes, I'm saying, you know, sometimes you have a great moment and they just didn't quite get in there enough or didn't quite get the right angle of it. But this was just like absolutely perfect. So I saw that and I was like, all right, this is the one. And then the other cool thing that I wanted to put over is, you know, obviously I said before, I just loved the visual aesthetic of the Logan Square Auditorium. I think it's a fucking beautiful looking building. It's got this like ornate, like classical, I don't know, like Art Deco kind of like style, but just beautiful throwback, like theater kind of venue. And yeah, getting to see the cool kind of like detailing on the walls and those curved windows and the curtains and everything, I just love. So, you know, I normally kind of do the ring in a bit of a, you know, plain color background. But for this one, I was like, I have to do that detail to capture just the beauty of this building. And actually had like I think a local photographer or say that he thought that I captured like the color and the vibe of Logan Square Auditorium like perfectly. And I was like, that was the biggest fucking compliment, dude, because I love this building. So that was fucking lovely.
Yeah, all my friends knew exactly the building, even if they weren't there for the match. Like, different people reached out to me and they said, is that Logan Square? You clearly did a great job.
Oh, thanks, man. And yeah, so thank you so much for recommending it, dude. And I love getting to sort of get the live perspective as well. I think it adds like something for us to be able to, like, you know, you watch this match, obviously comes across great on TV, but these things never quite, you know, they're never the same as getting to see it in person. So I thought it was so cool getting to talk to you and chop it up and actually hear that live perspective.
Yeah, and you know, I gotta say, like, I've seen a handful of really good matches, right? Zack Sabre Jr. versus Walter at PWG, things like that.
Oh man,
this might have been I think this and Zack versus Walter were like tied with the coolest matches. Like, I've seen some great matches, and I don't care to debate them. Like, if you're in my top five, you're in my top five. I'm not gonna compare who's hottest, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think those two matches. So to anybody that like didn't catch the match, I'm gonna put it on par with that Zack versus Walter match. Like, it just felt good. It felt like a fight. It felt legit. It looked legit. It looked good as hell, right? Like, I mean, it just brutal and fun, and silly and honorable and everything that you want indie wrestling.
Exciting.
Yeah, it was a fantastic time. I really appreciate you having me on to talk about it.
Dude, no, it was my pleasure, honestly. And you're not the only person to say that. Like I like to look up like some of the different reviews that people put on like Cage Match or Reddit or whatever of this kind of thing, and I found various other people that were like, dude, this was like the best match I've ever seen in person in my life, like hands down.
Yeah.
So I think the people that were there, like, they knew, like, man, we were part of something special.
I truly think that anybody that was not, and I'm not saying better or worse, but if you never had the good fortune to go to Reseda for PWG and see some of that magic, if that's off the radar, anybody there, that had to be the best match they've ever seen. Like, we were stupefied. I think that's like the closing word for you is like the wrestlers and us, not only the wrestlers that participated, but the wrestlers that were watching, the fans that are kind of adjacent to the business. I think stupefied is the correct word. Like stunned. We knew what we saw. We loved it. It was truly magical. It is still on Freelance. Deck the halls with balls of fury. Hashtag freelance balls.
Awesome show name, by the way.
Yeah, right. We've got another one this Saturday. I don't know if it'll compete or not. I mean, it's hard to beat that show, but yeah, check it out on IWTV. It was December of 2022. It was fantastic.
Absolutely, and yeah, make sure all of y'all make sure to just check out more Freelance stuff too. I think this is a really cool company. One of my first ever shows I went to in Chicago back in the day, they had this beautiful other venue called the Abbey Pub. I got to catch the last show there before that fucker burnt down, and it was just one of the most fun wrestling experiences I ever had. So all the love in the world for Freelance Wrestling, and yeah, make sure you support them as much as you can. Buy a fucking ticket, check them out on IWTV. Freelance are rad.
Yeah, hot take. I honestly, I love AAW, but I feel like Freelance has kind of overtaken as Chicago's leading indie as of now. No fault of AAW.
Oh, I don't even think that's a hot take. I think that's a fact.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't want to talk bad on another promotion that's
true.
running like top of their game as well. I think AAW had a lot of inconveniences that are out of their control, where Freelance was able to be like stable during some of that, right? But definitely Freelance is the place to be in Chicago.
I love that, man. Well, I know you gotta get out of here, but would you like to give any plug skis?
Yeah, well, it's Jon Craft Wrestling, JON, Craft like craft beer wrestling on Instagram. That's me. I am moving and shaking too much to really plug anything else right now. But follow me and you'll see what I'm up to. There is a decent chance that I will be starting Lucha Libre and Laughs Chicago next year in 2024.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and that would be my baby.
Man, that's a hot big announcement.
That would be my baby. You heard it here first. It's not for sure, and this is why this is the only place that I'll break the news. It's not for sure. We got to look at budgets. We were looking at doing it last year, but there was the problem with the venues and things like that. But Chicago has a ton of comic talent and a ton of comedy and wrestling talent both, and it really makes sense. I mean, the crowd eats it up.
An amazing lucha libre scene. I wanna say as
we
well.
We do out in the burbs. Yes, we absolutely do. But looking to start that up. So if you do see that coming out this summer, please check it out. Support us.
Absolutely. I'll be fucking pimping that out. I'll be shouting that from the rooftops if that gets going.
You'll have to fly over for my first show. Don't worry, Chris. I'll put you on the list.
Oh, all right. Thank you. I'll be there, my friend. I'll be there.
I love you, Chris. I appreciate you having me.
Dude, absolutely welcome, and I can't wait to see future developments of your ring announcing stuff as well. I feel like you're always doing an amazing job, dude.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And good luck with your art. Save me a print of this. I'll send you the money when I have it.
Yeah, for sure,
dude. If you send two, I'll get Speedball and Brian to sign it, and I'll send one back.
Oh, absolutely. For sure, dude. Well, no, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on, man. All the love in the world for you. I'll also shout out, thank you to Social Suplex, the network that keeps the lights on here. Check out socialsuplex.com, bunch of other rad podcasts. You can check out the One Nation Radio. We've got Keeping It Strong Style, the New Japan podcast, even got a AEW podcast. But check out all that good stuff over there. You can check out my stuff at Chris Things on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram's my main kind of hub where you'll get all of the exciting stuff going on. But also christhings.com.au. As you mentioned, my friend, you can get all sorts of rad art prints on there, including this match in question. We've got calendars, we've got mugs, we've got original art. Check it out, christhings.com.au. But that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening, to you, the listener, welcoming us into your ear holes. I am so appreciative. You got, everyone's got so much going on. You took the time to listen to this to completion. So I just want to put you over a little bit there, the listener. Thanks so much. We appreciate you. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Good night, everybody.